Yeah, right back there.
Yes, sir.
You ready? Okay. All right. We'll take questions for Coach Vitello. We'll start with Ben, and then go to Ryan. We'll get your mic.
Tony, just with COVID restrictions the last couple of years and this being your first true road test, any concern about the guys handling the environment this weekend?
They haven't given the coaching staff reason to. Consistency has been something that we haven't really preached. It's just been a commonality that we've kind of used as an answer to guys like you all that want to know what's been a strength of the team. And they seem to approach things with a similar enthusiasm, day in and day out, regardless of what the task is or what day of the week it is or the weather or anything like that. Now, there's reason for this to cause a little more excitement. I mean, you're going to play in front of a sellout crowd and things like that. So the guys will need to temper their emotions or at least be under control. But we have the Houston trip to fall back on as experience in doing so.
What makes this Ole Miss lineup so effective?
Experience, strong coaching, tradition in the program, experience in a lot of those at-bats. I mean, Mr. Elko's like 2 years younger than I am. I've run into him a few times. He's definitely cooler than I am and a better hitter too. But he sits in the middle of the thing, and he's surrounded by guys that are very athletic and guys who have a lot of at-bats underneath their belt.
So you guys in SEC play have won 6 straight road series. What are traits that lead to success in SEC play?
On the road, having Sean Hunley and Liam and Max too. And I say that kind of jokingly, but also applauding those guys' efforts because they're the ones that, along with the other players that get credit for last year's. This will be a new script with this year's group. But you can pay attention to the qualities that those two guys in the middle infield brought to the table last year and reasons why Sean Hunley, or you guys will speak with Redmond later on, guys like that, Camden Sewell, have been successful in Hoover or in a regional or on the road, and you can follow that lead. And I think our guys are familiar with those players because they either played with them or they watched them on TV as a future Vol last year.
Tony, a couple of things. One, I don't know the last time we asked you about Blade and Seth. How are things going there? And do you feel like they could return fairly soon? And if they did, would it both have to be bullpen first? Or?
Yeah, it would be, long toss, stretch it out, bullpen first, face our hitters first, and then pitch in some sort of game. And both guys, I can tell you, are literally in my face about I don't need I don't need to be babied when it's back. I want to be in the fire. And that's a literal quote. So I appreciate that, but it's also the coaching staff's job to put our team and also them in the best position to be successful. And the one thing we don't want with either guys, as far as that category goes, is the old 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it has been a little slow for folks like you or fans and definitely the 2 kids, but we're building up at a pretty good rate right now. And Blade just threw this morning. He's not very far off at all from being able to see game action. Seth Halverson was ahead of him, but has had a couple setbacks, the main one being wisdom teeth being pulled. So missed a few days of throwing there, but he won't be far behind Blade. I don't think so.
When you look at, your lineup and those numbers, I know last year, you go into conference play and the power numbers hadn't quite gotten there yet, and then they really started to go up. This year, they've been there from the beginning. Did you see this much power from your lineup this year when you were kind of thinking in your head how things would go?
I think the last 2 years, there's been a little bit of flavor there that has shown 2 of our staff members and myself. We had a club at Arkansas that kind of did similar damage in the fall and the spring. And those months don't actually predict exactly what's going to go on in the spring, but there are certain patterns. And it wasn't necessarily home runs. It was just guys that looked more physical than they did the year before, or guys who were getting after it in the weight room, and then the ability to drive the ball in general, whether it goes over the fence or not. It can sometimes depend on the day or the park you play in. I mean, we murdered some balls in Houston, and then the other night, they hit 3 out to left. We hit 3 that normally would go out to center, but the wind was blowing in that night. So we've just kind of seen a pattern there of guys taking the nutrition, the sleep, the weight training stuff very seriously, and then the ability to drive the ball. So it'll come and go, and you've seen it with our hitters. I mean, there's been guys that are clearly the best guy in the lineup that one day or even for a whole weekend, but then the next weekend they're behind some others in that category. So we'll live with the ups and downs, in particular with a lineup that's like last year. 9-1 or 1-9, we feel like we got a threat in there.
Arthur, go back.
Coach, you guys did go play Texas. You mentioned that earlier. What do you feel like you can take away from that? It wasn't a series, but it was a single game about one of the top teams in the country. Yeah,
starting with that day, but then the other days too is I use the phrase, temper your emotions or something similar to that. The old coaching thing, you got to be in control of yourself before you can be in control of your performance or the game or the outing or whatever it might be. And our guys were a little too geeked up to go down there, and I think it hurt them. Similarly, we go to Chattanooga and play in front of, I got to believe, the biggest crowd in the fall, this country, the country, the whole country included. And our guys wanted to please that crowd so badly that it hurt their performance. So there are certain things about playing in the SEC or wearing a power tee on your chest or going on the road that make it a lot more fun and is a topic of discussion, in particular for you guys. But it also is all things that happen outside the lines. So, making sure you kind of know what works for you. Some guys get a little more amped up. Some guys like to be relaxed. Some guys have their routines. But paying attention to what works for you between the lines is what you got to roll with. And I think we've had a level of consistency with our guys because they've taken that to heart and have at the very least paid attention to it. You're never going to quite master that. That's the beauty of baseball. But they've taken that to heart and I think have worked at it.
We'll do a few more. We've got Jake, and then we'll go Joseph, Ryan, Ben.
Tony, what have we seen from Ben Joyce, how consistent he's been able to produce, and what does his timeline look like at this point? He's still kind of coming back with his injury as well.
Yeah, I think he's ready to rock and roll as much as we want to let him. And I know the fans, it's almost like a carnival when he comes in the game, and the other team even gets excited. So the bad guy is me when we take him out of the game. But there's been kind of a plan there is let's get to SEC play with as many repetitions as possible. So there's been a lot of short outings, but he's had the 1-2 inning stint. I think he's fully capable based off the way he's trained of going 2, 3, 4 innings if need be. But for now, we feel like he's become no longer a fun project. And then, it was a prospect and then a guy that we can use in certain situations. Now I feel like we can use him in any situation that we feel again, puts him in a successful spot as well as the team, and then let him roll as long as we think. So his progress overall, along with Jared Dickey, is something that we will throw in front of guys' faces nonstop in years to come. Just tremendous examples of growing in every single area. The self-belief on Ben's face when he's on the mound, I can't tell you how different it is than 6-7 months ago.
Joseph.
Tony, you mentioned that Ole Miss comes with a lot of experience, and your pitching staff, especially the starters, are pretty young. What are you expecting out of them going into this weekend?
Our starters? Yeah, I think, again, you fall back. It's an easy one, but you fall back on the fact they got to pitch in front of a bunch of scouts on the MLB network, Major League Stadium against big-name teams, and that helped. But every team in our league is a rival. I can't tell you, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody, or maybe you guys have a different theory. We don't have one particular rival in the league. And when I was at Arkansas, I think we'd say the same thing there. There's a unique little deal at each spot. Each place you travel to has some stereotypes. You would say their fans, the environment is like this. Their program is like this. We've got a history with this team that's kind of evolved into this. So it'll be up to them to kind of follow the lead of the older guys and understand what it's like to play in Oxford. The times we do play Mississippi, obviously it's combative. I mean, it's like that with every team in our league. Now they're not in our division. So it'll be its own entity. It won't be Houston. And so our guys will need to rely on, the past successes they've had, but also navigate the waters of what a new weekend is. And the key to doing that is to not build it up in anything bigger than it is. And I think the freshmen did a nice job of that last week. Blake Burke, any freshman you would name, just because it's labeled an SEC game doesn't mean it's not a game.
I know you're not looking ahead to Vanderbilt any, but those two series back-to-back, probably your hardest two on paper. Do you like being thrown in the fire like that early in SEC play?
I think, I'm wearing a uniform, but I throw BP. I ain't playing in the game. So to take your question in a different direction, I think, and I hope I'm right, I think the guys like that. And that doesn't mean they're cocky or they think they're going to win every game or they are looking ahead and let's do this or that. But I think they want to be tested and they want to be challenged. And it doesn't matter what the brand name of the opponent is or if you're home or away Tuesday, you're going to be challenged. I mean, it's baseball. It's probably Again, no disrespect to any other sport, but it's probably a little crazier than any other, where if you're a little above 500, it's a really good year. We just said bye to Kelly's team. You don't want to be 500 in basketball. So our guys have treated every day, including yesterday. This time of year, you're not that fired up about practice, but it's a challenge. And I think guys on our team look forward to it, and they like when the fire is a little hotter, and they'll have a chance to prove that.
So there's a page in the back, really get the players, so we're wrapping Tony up here. Go ahead, Dave.
Do you think, I guess, Blake and Simo and Jared, I guess, is it kind of like spinning the roulette wheel to see who's going to play DH for you this weekend?
Yeah, sometimes it's like that in the hotel room. You can text me your vote on Friday if you want on who you think it should be. But, you kind of look at matchups, but you don't want to blow that out of proportion either, because one thing we put in front of our guys is these scouter reports. But again, it's not Major League Baseball, so the sample size can be relatively small. I think it's important for our guys to realize, all right, I don't have control when the coach puts me in, but when he does, that means he thinks I'm the best guy for the job. So there's no reason I shouldn't think I'm the best guy for the job. And to be honest with you, these kids on our team or any other kid, you don't battle with the coach for playing time other than proving, with your work ethic, you're ready to go. But the guys on the bench should be thinking they're the best guy for the job. And so they should be watching the game as if they're in that situation to pinch run or to pinch hit, or they're the DH for the day. So we'll go with what we think is the best move on Friday. And then the one thing I like about our kids is they are in the game. So in the fourth inning, if we want to pinch run or make a quick change, I feel like the guys are ready, and the guy will knuck them up that's coming out of the game and say, go get them, do as well as I think that I would have done in that spot.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you. Knuck them up. Is that?
This is different up here.
All right, you ready? All right, when you guys are ready, we'll take questions for Redmond. We'll get you a mic. We'll start with Ben.
Just what do you see out of this Ole Miss lineup, and top to bottom, how difficult of a challenge do they present?
I mean, it's always going to be difficult. Any SEC lineup. They're a top team in the country for a reason. You can't 1 through 9. You can't really have any laps. You can't just pitch around anybody. So that's the thing. You got to go into it thinking every guy's a 3-hole hitter, every guy's a leadoff hitter. They're experienced, so it'll be one of those things you got to compete every single at bat.
Hey, you in the back.
I think you might be the only guy with COVID and all that that's actually played on the real road SEC series on this team. But is there anything you've told the younger pitchers about pitching this weekend at Ole Miss?
Just to treat it like any other game. I mean, the crowd there is unbelievable. We went there, it's crazy, it sounds 5 years ago, and the atmosphere is one of the best in baseball, if not the best. So you got to take it as a something that's exciting. So for me, it was a awesome experience, something that you enjoy. You kind of soak it in for a little bit, but you just realize it's just baseball. The plate's the same distance, the base is the same distance, and you're pitching the same guys with the same defense behind you. So you just got to treat it like it's a scrimmage or it's another game.
Tony just said he thought the team liked the fact that y'all play Ole Miss and Vanderbilt these back-to-back weeks. Is that the case? Getting thrown in the fire?
Oh, for sure. I think my first couple of years, maybe we were a little bit more nervous. Now we have the talent, we have the preparation that we're excited for those games. I think those are games that we kind of look forward to and just kind of see where we are. I mean, this is the most talented team I think I've played on since I've been here, and I think these guys are ready for the task and ready to go out there and hopefully take the series.
Brendan, early in the season, you kind of praised Wyatt Evans, and you said he was one of your favorites. Seeing him mow down the side the other night, what have you seen from him so far?
It's just confidence. The dude walks around and he doesn't say anything. He just always has confidence about him. And he's going to be a guy here in a year or two, even right now, is going to be really good. I think he has a heavy fastball. The velo's starting to creep up, and he's going to get a slider that's just going to be the end for hitters. So I'm really excited for his future and for his future for this team.
Joseph?
Tony mentioned that Ben Joyce, he's ready to rock and roll. He's back from that injury. What have you seen from him and on, kind of a personal connection coming out of the bullpen?
For him, one, he's a great guy. He's worked his tail off since he got hurt, and it shows. I mean, seeing him in the weight room, seeing him throw flat ground, seeing him throw just anytime he can, it makes sense that he throws 104, which is crazy to say, but everything about him is just different. Just the way he goes about himself, the way he goes about himself in the weight room, it's just going to show. And by the time the end of the season comes around, I think we'll see on the stat line and also in the MLB draft that all his hard work paid off.
From a pitcher's perspective, what have you thought of Evans' defense back there behind the plate?
Oh, it's been awesome. It was one of those things we always used to mess with him because freshman year, he told us he's a catcher, and we're like, yeah, whatever. But, I mean, the jump he's made has been unreal. Just him being able to steal strikes, his plus minuses at the end of games from pitches he leaves off the plate to pitches he gets, strikes he gets for us has been unreal. And just he's a guy you love throwing to. When a guy's a good person behind the plate, you feel a lot more confident in the pitches you throw, and that if you spike something or maybe elevate something, he's going to be there to keep it in front of him, make sure the runners don't get to the next base.
What do you think it would say about this team if you guys went on the road and won a series against one of the top teams in the country right now?
I think it'd be expected. I think this team has a lot of, like I said, a lot of talent. I think it'd just be another stepping stone for what the end result is for this team. You got to take it each day by itself, but I think I really don't think there's a ceiling for this team. So I think going on the road and taking a series win is just another step into where we believe that we'll be at the end of the season.
Redmond? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll have Trey here. Trey, let's give me just a second, and then it'll be it for today. So we'll start with Glass. All right, start with Glass.
Trey, there are a lot of guys on this team that have kind of played on the road in an environment in a full stadium like they're going to this weekend. I know you were on the team a few years ago, so you did this a few times on places like this. What do you say to some of the younger guys? I know it's still baseball, but it's a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is just still baseball, but you want to go down there, and we're going to a good environment this weekend. I just can't wait to see it. But you just want to go down there and play the game of baseball you've been playing since you were younger, since you were 2, 3 years old. And then if things don't work out, then things don't work out. But if you go out there and play it to the best of your ability and just have fun with it, then things should go the way you want to.
Ben, and then Ryan.
The baseball program as a whole has pretty much established itself the last couple of years, but going into this weekend, sold-out environment, night games at the SEC, top 5 matchup, do you feel like you also have a chip on your shoulder and still have something to prove?
Oh, for sure. I think that's something that, as long as, I guess, Tony Vitello is here, that we will never have that chip not on our shoulder. Everything's always like, we expect to be good, we expect to be great, but some things, like adversity, we talk about a lot in the locker room. It's just when things happen, how good can you come together and how are you going to respond towards that? Because this league isn't easy and it's not nice to you. So you just do that and then see what happens.
Obviously, you were on the team a few years ago, but not a major piece of it, not a starter. Are you excited maybe to be the subject of some heckles this weekend?
Oh, yeah. There's actually a buddy down there, Seymour, my roommate. He is a buddy on the team, Tyrone Malone. He said that it's a good environment. It's definitely fun. The fans are definitely into every game. But, no, I can't wait to go down there and see what they get.
Biggs, and then after that.
Trey, Blake Burke wears that fur coat on the road when you guys are traveling. What kind of reaction do you guys get going through airports and stuff?
I think that's just his style. I think if anybody can wear it better, it's definitely him. He's a cool guy. He's from California. He has kind of the Cali swag, so if anything, it definitely fits him.
With Christian Moore, have you tried his McDonald's pregame theory and just whatever you seen from him, and how special can he be long term? I mean, the guy's got like 7 homers and 32 at bats.
Actually, I did try it all last week. I ate it every time, but I doubled it. I had 2 McChickens and 2 large fries, so hopefully that'll work out. But no, he's a special kid, but he's an even better guy just to hang out with and just talk about. He's a really, really smart guy when it comes to the baseball side. He goes out there and does his thing, and we kind of all expected it in the fall. Him coming to campus was a big get.
I said a minute ago that he thinks you guys like the fact that y'all play these 2 top 5 teams back to back on the road, kind of get thrown in the fire. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, we definitely like it. But I guess we're more excited just to go out there and compete every day. We get to do that. We play all these games in fall against each other. And then when someone else is across the line in the other dugout, it's kind of fun just to see what we can do and how we're going to do it when we go out there.
Perfect.
What do you feel like you would say about this team if you were to go on the road and win a series against arguably the top in the country?
It will feel good for us, but I think kind of people would just expect it. I don't know. We're a really good team. We came together. We got a young guys that contribute. We love what we're doing so far, and we hope to continue it.
Wes?
Does it feel different? Well, I know you said earlier that as long as Tony's y'all's coach, you're going to have a chip on your shoulder. But y'all are much more of the sort of the hunter than these days. You're not, or the hunter. You're not the hunter.
Right.
Is that different, knowing that you can't sneak up on anybody now? That everybody can see the numbers. Everybody knows y'all went to Omaha last year.
Yeah.
Is it a little different? You think in that way?
It definitely is. You kind of tell that in the midweeks when we got teams like in-state schools come down here and then they give their best punch. They throw their Friday guy, Saturday guy, and even their best reliever. But it's pretty cool to see people not so much respect you, but they kind of respect the grind that you've put in.
Joseph?
Trey, last year, obviously, maybe you weren't in the biggest role, but stepping up into that starting third baseman role this year. From kind of both perspectives, have you seen a difference between last year's team and this year's team? And is there some more excitement maybe around this year's team?
Yeah, you kind of want to take some things from last year's team and apply it to your team. But once we can find that good camaraderie in the locker room and kind of when everyone knows their role and everyone comes together, I think that's where we're going to be good. And we had guys like last year, like Liam Spence and Max Ferguson, who were one of a kind. I mean, you can't make up Liam. He comes how he is. But no, definitely we have some pretty talented, more guys that came in. As long as we keep building that camaraderie and coming together, we're going to be just all right.
Any more questions for Trey? Wes, I'll finish with you.
Trey, I know in a pinch you can play just about anywhere on the infield, but do you see yourself moving forward once you leave Tennessee as more of a third baseman? Are you going to try to play some shortstop second? Where do you see your career going in that way?
Yeah, no, like you said, I've played every position here. I mean, even last year I tried to catch. That didn't really go too well. But no, I played first. I played second, short, and third. But third base is it's good. I like it a lot. It's the hot corner, but you got more time than you think. But going forward, I just feel myself being playing anywhere as I can.
Thanks, Trey. Thanks, everybody. I will send these videos out so you guys can download.